God bless you. This is Pastor G. Gregg Murray, and this is a word that you can live by. Just felt compelled to address the nation, even the world, about the events that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia on today, when white nationalists and white supremacists, and those calling themselves neo-Nazis and those claiming to represent the master race, marched into Charlottesville, Virginia, citing violence, all sort of racial epithets, threats, resulting in one person actually being killed in the streets. You might ask yourself, how could something like this happen in America in 2017? But it has happened. It wasn't but a short while ago when Dylan Roof, attending a Bible study at a black church there in Charleston, South Carolina, gunned down 9 people, including the pastor, who was also a state senator. And every day, people of color are faced with this growing tension. Some people say we've come a long way, that through the civil rights movement and the Jim Crow era, that these things no longer exist. But I beg to differ, and I think that was really shown with the actions there in Charlottesville on today. And last night, actually, this had been going on for since yesterday. There were, however, some bright spots, if you will, and I would like to kind of lift that up, because I think going forward, this reality is going to be important. And that is, there was a resistance against this hate and this bigotry. There was a resistance, and the resistance not only came from black Americans, but also white Americans, the gay and lesbian community, Latinos, Asians. Clergy came together from all racial backgrounds and ethnicities. Clergy wore their robes and stood arm in arm from even interfaith. There were rabbis, there were imams, there were priests, there were pastors standing together. Look at that response, because going forward, that's going to be critical to understand concerning what we need to combat this evil in our country, and that is all Americans coming together. All Americans, because we are all Americans, coming together to fight this evil that threatens our very democracy, and really wants to truly tear this country down with the false sense of it belongs to you, because this country belongs to everybody that is Americans. Amen. We are a country of immigrants, except for that slave ship that landed in Virginia at 1609, when Africans were kidnapped from their homeland and brought here, and even the Native Americans that were already here. Outside of that, all groups have come to America as immigrants. And I want to say to our president, you rode into the White House on the vehicle of racism and bigotry and discrimination. You have fanned these flames for a long time now. And your response and your refusal to call it what it really was today, and call out those groups that threaten our very democracy, amen, shows that you really don't truly represent all Americans. You don't have all Americans in your heart and on your mind in terms of being their president. And so there's a whole segment of America that feels that, Mr. Trump, you don't represent them. You don't represent us. And I think you showed that today. So what do? We continue to organize. We continue to resist. I'm calling on all Americans, amen, all Americans to unite together. That's the only way we're going to overcome this. God has given us this time to show forth where our faith really is. And if your faith is in Jesus Christ, amen, then he came for the marginalized. He came for the oppressed. He came for the brokenhearted. And to see so many who describe themselves as white evangelicals, you were responsible for really electing Donald Trump because he rode in on really your covert racism, and he spoke your language, and you put him in office. You made a deal with the devil. But I'm calling all Christians who are really truly filled with the Spirit of Christ, with the spirit of love for all people. We must stand together. And this opportunity is right here before us now, America. What are you going to do with it? The world is watching, and I believe that a coalition, a solidarity that we have not yet seen in this country is in the making as a response to this latest round of foolishness, which a lot of people have known had not been over and we've dealt with for many years. The 60s didn't end it. The 70s didn't end it. The 80s, the 90s. Look what we have now. And then there's that segment of our people who are not just going to go away and accept business as usual to be the order of the day. They're here to crush the status quo and at times by any means necessary. That we will protect ourselves, that we will protect our homes, we will protect our children and our youth. We have a right to do that. And there's a growing segment that says, we need to talk about those things too. And we need to have a multiplicity of responses. And as a man of God, I'm very much for that. Because God says, put on the whole arm of God. And there are times when you have to, we have to take it. We have to protect our freedom. We have to fight for the cause of Christ. And so I see a coalition and a sense of unity that I have not seen in a long time in this country. And today, which was designed to make us weaker and to put fear in us, it has galvanized a large group of people from every background, every ethnicity, every race, every sexual orientation, every nationality. That we're not going to take that anymore. That time in America is over. And I send this message to you, President Trump. If you cannot represent all the people and be the president of the United States, not alt-right, the Klan, or the neo-Nazi groups, or your rich friends in corporate America, then God will raise up those who will. And we are watching and we are preparing for not only these elections that are coming up, but the elections in 2018. And people are coming together. And I think there's going to be a show of not only political force, but spiritual force. And we are coming together as a people that you can no longer divide and keep us conquered. That we are coming to the knowledge and wisdom and the understanding of what it means to be one people, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I say to my brother clergy, let's continue to stand together. Zion is calling us to a higher place. I'm in it. And I have nothing to fear. That's what I've taught my children, and that's what I teach my congregation. And I've represented that on social media for a long time now. So here we are, America. What are we going to do? I believe we're going to stand with one voice that we're not accepting this anymore. It will not be tolerated. It was Charlottesville today, but it could be St. Petersburg tomorrow. It could be Atlanta tomorrow. It could be LA. It could be Brooklyn. It could be Chicago. It could be Washington, D.C. It could be Boston. So wherever you are, become aware, stand up, and get active. May God bless you. This is Pastor G, and this is a word that you could live by.